To our first type of poem, which is haikus. So I'm just going to go over a brief overview of what a haiku is, and then we're going to read one, and then we're going to look at the activity that you have to complete for today, which is both modern and old haikus. So a haiku originated from Japan. It's a very, very short poem. It only consists of 3 lines, but it does follow a certain pattern. So the first line has 5 syllables, the second line has 7 syllables, and the third line has 5 syllables again. So the 3 lines, it goes 5, 7, 5. But modern haikus have kind of strayed from this. They're still short, they're still 3 lines, but maybe not following the strict 5, 7, 5. However, they still deal with things that old haikus have. So they usually deal with nature in some way. They don't have to, but usually they do. These are really, really kind of difficult to write sometimes because you only have those 17 syllables to work with. So I know that you're probably going to find yourself going, okay, so counting the syllables out like on your fingers and stuff, which is good. So Matsuo Basho is one of the most famous Japanese poets in the Edo period, which is the 1600s. So he's more of an old-fashioned writer, obviously, if he was born in the 1600s. But he is recognized as the master of haikus. He has produced a ton of haikus, and he wrote some really, really famous ones. Like I said, modern haikus stray from his style, but he was seeking enlightenment through nature. So he would write all of his haikus about nature, but kind of transform them to a way that you could relate to. It's about like finding yourself through nature, which kind of sounds a little hippie, but it's definitely the style that haikus tend to go towards. So here are 3 different haikus that he's written. So they don't have titles. So these are 3 separate ones you can see. So the first one that we're going to look at right here is an old silent pond. A frog jumps into the pond. Splash. Silence again. So here we can see that he's using a little bit of onomatopoeia. He's talking obviously about nature, a silent pond, frog jumps into the pond. So here kind of, if you look at it, you're just probably thinking to yourself, he's just talking about a frog. But if we look at it from his point of view, and if he's looking for enlightenment, he's kind of talking about how society is kind of just staying the same. It's silent and everything. And then somebody, the frog, will try to do something about society. They're going to try to make their point known and everything. But this is kind of depressing. But he's saying splash, so something happens, society recognizes it, but then it goes silent again and right back to its old ways. So even though you do try to change society, it's always going to revert back to what it was. So that's the first one that we're going to look at. The second one here, a snowy morning by myself, chewing on dried salmon. I'm getting kind of Revenant vibes from this one. If you have watched that movie, it was out in like 2016. But so he's talking about a snowy morning here. So he's describing a morning, snow. So you can obviously imagine that it's cold outside. And then his second line here says, by myself. So he's alone. So isolation in the cold, just kind of encapturing that loneliness that he's feeling. And then chewing on dried salmon. So if he's chewing on dried salmon, he's not eating a 5-course meal here. He's not eating the most delicious thing ever. It's kind of him salvaging what he has. So in this poem here, I would say that he's really reflecting on loneliness and that he doesn't have much and he's kind of on rock bottom. And then here we have his last one that we're going to look at. So, sicking on journey, my dream run about a desolate field. So here, I mean, this one is kind of self-explanatory. He does use a dream, that's a non-human thing. So we are, and it's running. So we are kind of using personification here. But here, I would say that his ideas are so far from the mainstream ideas of society. And so he's on his own and he's kind of beating his own path. and he's chasing towards his dream and his own journey. So even though they are really short, they have a lot of meaning packed into them if you dissect them. So using the Big Six method, we can do that. I also do just want to take a second and look at the syllables. So an old silent pond, that's 5 syllables. A frog jumps into the pond, 7 syllables. Splash, silence again, 5 syllables. So you can see that he does follow that pattern very well in these haikus. So I just want to go over this activity really quickly with you. So this is going to be kind of what we do every single time that we do go over a new poem. You're going to do a Big Six. I'm going to give you maybe a couple poems, maybe only just one. It'll depend on how long they are. And you're going to read them, give me your interpretation. So this is the paraphrase part of the Big Six. So you can see here we have different poets here. This one is definitely more of a modern poem. So is this one. And this one is more of an older style poem. So I write, erase, rewrite, erase again, and then a poppy blooms. So here we have the nature aspect of it, but I want you to look at it and try to get the deeper meaning like we did just now with the other poems. And then Tyler Knott Gregson, we are a sad song sung in a beautiful voice, haunting but hopeful. So this one isn't much about nature, but it is human nature, music, that sort of thing. And then Tori Young, I've really felt safe in the reckless arms of your mental disorder. So these are obviously more modern. They're not taking that strict nature vibe. They're kind of elevating it to something that we can relate to a little bit more in modern society. So you're going to read through all of those. Oh, and there's one more, sorry. So William C. Hannon, inside of everyone, the infinite traveler longs to be set free. So you're going to read through those 4 poems and you're going to write your interpretation. And then I have the organizer down here for the Big Six. However, I only picked out a couple of these elements. So I want you to look at what poetic devices are in this. Just like we kind of saw onomatopoeia, personification, that sort of thing in the other poems. What do you see here? That's why knowing your poetic devices are really important. And then you're going to obviously identify the theme. What is the speaker? What's their attitude? And then the structure. So we already know the haiku structure, so basically just translate that into your answer here. And then what I want you to do is write a paragraph at the bottom by choosing one of these poems. You're only doing one for this chart too. And you are going to write a paragraph analysis of the haiku that you chose using the information that you came up with through your answers for the organizer. All right, if you have any questions, please let me know. I will be looking at these and giving you maybe some feedback if you weren't quite right on, but that's the beautiful thing about poetry is that you can kind of make it whatever you need to as long as you can support it. What it means to you might mean something different to someone else. All right, so that's everything there. Good luck.